Okay, we will begin the Tuesday, June 9th, 2020 City Council meeting. For those, we're all here, so I normally would do a roll call for Zoom, but we're all in lifetime. So we will call to order and approve the agenda.
So moved?
Second?
All in favor?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so now my little comment about public comment. We have two people in the audience. Make a comment? Jim? During the public comment phase, I'm just trying to... No? Okay, just checking.
I wasn't so prepared. I know you guys are reviewing the 14-day license. I think that...
We're going to talk about that at a special time, so why don't we
Do I save it for then?
save that one for that. Thank you, though, Jim. Everybody else who's online or listening, if you wish to make a comment, you can send it into the council and we will read it after the meeting. It's too late to do it now. All the comments that were sent to us from the last meeting, at least I have read, so thank you for those. Most of those will relate to certain topics later. So, with that, we will go to our first item, which is ordinance for the purpose of amending the municipal code. Bruce?
Yes, this has to do with the farmer's market. We normally would charge $75 for a full season. We think we're, based on the dates that are being contemplated now, it's about half of that season. And so sometimes it's kind of close call as to whether or not it's worth the $75 to be able to come in. And so what we're recommending is that for this one time period, that there's a special business license that costs $40 for anybody to participate in the farmer's market this year.
Okay then, any questions for staff?
Here. Ashley, do you have any other comments?
Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Great.
Okay. Nope, I have no other comments.
Glad we heard that. Well said.
Okay. So we have our cheat sheet for this ordinance, so we need to move for consideration.
Move to approve the first reading of ordinance number 20-15.
Second?
Ordinance 21.5, for the purpose of amending municipal code by amending chapter 504-060C, power. Discussion. Okay, roll call.
Council President Benefield,
Yes.
Councilor Risley.
Yes.
Councilor Ogilvie,
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy,
Yes.
Mayor Stidle,
Yes. It was a unanimous vote, so we can move for the second reading.
Move to approve the second reading and adopt ordinance number 20-15.
Second. Ordinance 20-15 for the purpose of amending the municipal code by amending chapter 504-060C, fees imposed. Any discussion? Nope. Colleen?
Councilor Risley,
Yes.
Councilor Ogilvie,
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy,
Yes.
Council President Benefield,
Yes.
Mayor Stidle,
Yes. Ordinance number 20-15 has been adopted and is effective immediately. Okay. That one off. Next item. Consideration of ordinance 20-16 for municipal code by creating temporary exception 14-day permit. Jeff. Also, we have folks who are going to want to speak on this one, so I'll do that after the staff report.
Yeah, I'll just give a brief summary. At the last, I think it was the last work session we held, you had asked to come back with a ordinance, frame it for a 14-day day, and that would take effect immediately and run through September 30th for short-term rentals. And as you know, or well aware, that emergency declaration closed down visitors affecting hotels and short-term rentals with very limited ability to rent during that period. And this would allow them a window starting now, running through September 30th, to allow instead of normal 14 days or 7 days, one guest party for 7 days. Any questions?
Are there going to be any requirements for the sanitation or masks or any information given to the short-term rentals for the individual homes, especially the independent ones that are not under property management?
That's not part of the ordinance, we don't currently do that, not to say that we couldn't put some guidelines on that, but usually that is, code enforcement and, Jason following up on any kind of complaints regarding any kind of that, and he often, I understand, refers that to, county or the state, so.
I know there's been some people who have expressed concern that with all the short-term rentals in the various neighborhoods, that there don't seem to be any requirements for them to follow some of the same socialization and sanitation requirements that, say, the hotels are following.
I think that they're, as far as I know from the state perspective, we're all supposed to be doing social distancing, supposed to be doing that, but I don't know if the state has any further measures even on hotels regarding that, and if they're required to do so. That's not really,
No, Board of Health Authority doesn't have anything on lodging.
Our hotels have done such a good job. I think we should follow a similar requirement for the short-term people, just because I have a little mixed emotions about supporting this in the first place, because I do feel that the residential areas should remain that. So I want to protect our people as much as possible. Can you do that, Jason?
Absolutely. That's what
Cool.
we do, protect.
How do we do it, though?
For making those rules, that would have
Yeah.
to go through planning.
So can we do that?
Give them the same requirements, is that what you're saying?
When are they going to go, they're already open, right? So,
yeah, so are you saying health kind of related guidelines, or, that, I don't know if that a hotel has adopted through anything.
yeah.
So.
Well, Patrick did a very good presentation of what they're doing, and it would be a good
Those are
example.
the guidelines that they're.
Based off of what the Oregon Health Authority sent out.
We have not adopted anything in the jurisdiction, is what I'm.
We could recommend those same things, because that's as far as we've really gone with the hotels. So if somehow we could tie that in, to the motion or something. Ashley, is there anything else we should do to make that happen?
So what exactly, what kinds of regulations are we talking about?
Mostly it has to do with the whole sanitation aspect of keeping the homes clean and sanitized between each renter. And if we do adopt the ordinance that, or the resolution that says that they can go once every 7 days, that's going to put more of an emphasis on the need for sanitation. So I'm not sure exactly how we go about doing that or ensuring that, but I think it's something we need to.
I think that there's requirements in the Oregon Health Authority's standards for hotels and vacation rentals. I think the difference with the hotels, a lot of things they were doing was having the hand sanitizer in the lobby and screening there so that you couldn't have face-to-face contact. And also inside the rooms, they wouldn't be entering the rooms until the person had checked out. So
I don't know how you translate that into a house, so.
Yeah, my suggestion would just be use the Oregon Health Authority's guidelines for the houses because they're already put in place, and that's the requirement that we can enforce.
Yeah, could do that.
Yeah.
So I'm looking up what specifically the governor has provided for hotels and short-term rentals. So, I mean, I agree with that. You know, if the city wanted to consider regulations over and above that, I mean, I think first we need to figure out what exactly we want to require. And then, you know, we could do it in this, we would take a vote to amend the ordinance and then, you know, vote on the amendments and then vote on the ordinance. You know, I think it's close enough to the subject that, you know, we could do it that way under the city's charter. Or, you know, we could bring back, if you want to give staff direction on the types of regulations that you would like to see, staff could then bring back probably a resolution with, you know, additional regulation, just additional short-term regulations for short-term rentals. So we could do it that way as well.
Okay, I haven't heard specifically that it's over and above what the hotels have to do.
No, I would say at least the minimum of what the hotels have to do. Yeah,
Okay,
I
so we want to put all lodging on an equal basis
Yeah.
for sanitation. Okay, so if there is a hotel lodging regulation,
I'll
guidelines.
get a copy of it and bring it to you guys, just so you have it,
okay.
you can see it.
Thank you, Jason.
So what we'll do right now then, while he's doing that, is I'll ask the speakers who want to speak on this subject. We have three, TJ, Lisa, and Brian. I'm going to go in that order. So if we could unmute TJ.
Hi there.
Hi, TJ. Go ahead and say what you need to say.
Great. Can everybody hear me okay?
And I need your name and address.
Yep, you bet. This is TJ Beeler, representing Cannon Beach Vacation Rentals, PO Box 362, Cannon Beach, Oregon.
Perfect.
So, yep. So just speaking on the topic, I think the easing of the 14-day restriction on short-term vacation rentals will, I think, stimulate commerce responsibly. I think the city would be encouraging who I think are the right guests to our community. They're able to remain somewhat self-contained, obviously. They are, at least in the professional vacation manager realm, receiving instruction from us regarding expectations for PPE, social distancing, and the like. I think the fear that some of the folks in our community will suddenly see some sort of a disproportionate number of people due to the shift from a 14-day to a 7-day is a fear that I think is pretty easily quelled. Our guest demographic, their profiles, and their booking patterns are pretty simple to explain and identify. Guests that come for 7 days, where their capital outlay for such a trip is anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 a week, really very typically book months and months in advance. It's really atypical for someone or a group to book a week-long vacation, 3 weeks or a month in advance. It is typical, however, for smaller groups or guests to book closer to an arrival date where their stay is shorter and less expensive. And honestly, there's probably no better example of this than over the last couple weeks, where we've seen a lot more foot traffic in town. I can tell you, just really briefly speaking for our company and a couple of the other professionally managed vacation rental companies that make up together probably 70% of the market for short-term rentals in Cannon Beach. Together, we had 4 reservations. So the additional traffic, you know, is really not short-term vacation rental driven. Second homeowners, maybe friends and family of second homeowners, day trippers, perhaps. But my point is, I think lowering the ordinance from 14 to 7 days, it's, I think, more typical of them who may want to come for a long weekend, where we give them the opportunity now to say, yeah, sure, come ahead. I think it's an opportunity to provide a bit of incremental lift in commerce. And at the same time, we're not going to be tipping the scales by adding any discernible population difference through September at least. So thanks, guys.
Thanks, TJ. Any questions for TJ?
I'm waiting until
Okay.
after there's a motion on the table.
Next one is Lisa Kerr. Wait, we gotta unmute you.
Okay, am I
There we
unmuted
go.
now? Can you hear me?
Now you're here. I need name and your address, please.
Members of the City Council and City staff, my name is Lisa Kerr, and my address is Post Office Box 94, Cannon Beach, Oregon. The issue about increasing the frequency of short-term rentals is one of priorities. Priorities. Does the city put the well-being, the peace, and the health of citizens first? Or does it put the well-being, the financial well-being of the short-term rental agencies and folks who rent out their homes or their second homes through the rental agencies first? Which is it? The pandemic has been financially hard on all of us. I know very few people who have not suffered from some monetary losses. But do we try and make up the short-term rentals on the backs of the people who actually live here? I know the short-term rental people have been singing the blues, but they still have June, July, August, September with no restrictions other than those set forth in our ordinances. The high season, when school is normally out, is still before them. June, July, August, and September, when things really heat up. I don't think the city should be swayed by the arguments of the short-term rental companies, although I know they can be extremely persuasive. They have been trying to increase the frequency of rentals for years. This is just an ideal opportunity for them to try and get more and more, as always. The pandemic is not over. It is in a lull. The reason we closed down hotels and restaurants and short-term rentals when the pandemic was raging is because we were trying to prevent the spread of the virus in our community. Now the council has reopened the short-term rental market and is actually considering doubling the number of renters and number of guests in our town. It is unconscionable. Priorities. I don't know about you, but my top priority is my health. And as my elected representatives, it should be your top priority as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Okay, can we unmute Brian now?
All right, I'm Brian Olson, one of the partners in Beachcomber Vacation Homes. My address is P.O. Box 1061, Cannon Beach, Oregon. I wanted to address a couple of the concerns that Nancy and Robin have brought up as far as sanitation and cleanliness before anything else. Our housekeeping staff now goes in, uses a product that they basically spray or fog throughout the property. Let it sit for, it's designed to sit for 10 to 15 minutes to kill any viruses that are there. They do that. They do a thorough cleaning, wiping down with disinfectant all of the high touch zones, everything that you would feel that needs to be done. Once they're done, they leave. We send in, our company uses a pre-arrival checker. That person then comes in again and does the fog one more time and also wipes down all the touch spots one more time, just to make sure that everything is ready when that guest arrives. When we have guests call and ask us what the restrictions are, what's going on in town, what's open, the very first thing that our staff talks about is being respectful of everybody around, in the neighborhoods, in the businesses, all of those things. So we ask them to wear masks. If a business wants you to wear a mask to go into their business, we ask that they have them with them and they wear them, and that they follow social distancing as well. We are currently putting up flyer posters on refrigerators that ask them to do those kinds of things, just to be sure that they're respectful of the residents in the area. We've actually had several cancellations in the last week where people have called and said, you know what, not feeling great, I'm not coming. So our guests are being respectful of those things. What we see with this change to the 14-day is the ancillary businesses that survive with vacation rentals, hotels, our guests, all of that, helping put some more business into the retail and the restaurants. We are taking every step we can to make sure the community is safe. This is not a windfall for us. We actually have homeowners that are coming in and staying in their homes for 2-3 weeks at a time now. So those neighborhoods are still going to have people in them, with homeowners coming in and using as well. We see this as an opportunity to help the community as far as bringing more business into our retail and restaurants, and our other businesses like Ronick Coast Heating. He did out and fixed 3 fireplaces for me this week because we have guests that wanted them with this weather. Those are the things that we're looking at. So I hope the council will stick with their decision from last week. And if you have any questions about our cleaning processes, any of those, I'm more than happy to help and answer. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Brian, I just want to say I appreciate the effort. It sounds like you're doing a great job, and I feel more comfortable knowing what your procedure is. My biggest concern are the independent short-term rentals that aren't under property management. I don't think we have that many, but I am concerned about those. But I do appreciate what you and the other property managers are doing to make sure that we're safe.
I would say, Nancy, too, that those housekeepers that are cleaning those individual houses, they're local residents like we are. And my guess is that they're being just as careful. There's some pretty high quality housekeeping companies and individual cleaners in this community. And my guess is that they are paying attention as well.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Brian.
Yep.
Do we have any idea how many of these specific short-term rentals are not under management?
Yeah, I think TJ mentioned about 70% are under the 3 or 4 property management, the large property management companies. I'd say it's between 70 and 80%, and I can verify that, but if you find it, that's what it was when we did the first kind of data, look at the data.
Okay.
And I can't imagine it's changing much.
And the 14-day ones, there's not that many to start with.
About 100.
So, okay. Did you find something, Jason?
I did not.
Did not.
What I was looking at was the American Hotel and Lodging Association that Patrick Millfield had gone with. And this Oregon Health Authority hasn't put out anything on any lodging. That's the only thing they haven't, which is surprising. And I didn't hear what Brian had said, but I thought he was part of that group that met with Patrick regarding the guidelines. And those restrictions or the things that they wanted to do were keeping the laundry done a certain way and using specific cleaners that, I don't know if Brian had mentioned that or not, but that's what they're doing at the hotels.
Colleen? We have one more person that wanted to.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Jim.
Stand up just because it seems better.
Yeah.
They also very clearly about their thoughts on it. And the cleanliness issue, there's two guidelines that have been put out because the state of Oregon did not have guidelines because they didn't close lodging ever through this entire process. So the state didn't have that, so they didn't provide guidelines for that. But the American Hotel Lodging Association, which you found, and the Oregon Restaurant and Lodging Association both had guidelines that they put out to this industry. That includes vacation rentals, not just the hotels. So they all have that, and our local vacation rental companies got together, went through those guidelines and adopted what they felt were best practices for their industry and our community. The hotels did it separately because they realized that these are two separate functions. There's different cleaning requirements for homes versus hotels. And so they both got together and did that. Patrick did a great job of presenting that about the hotels. And I'm sure that the vacation rentals, Brian or TJ, will be happy to share with you all this. But it's not going to be a whole lot different from what I understand than what the hotels are doing. They're just tweaking it so it fits a home more than a hotel. So there's differences, and I think they've accounted for those differences to make sure everything's clean and taken care of. The thing that I wanted to add to this is we just had a recent traveler sentiment study. So if you're thinking of traveling, there's a company that was done through Travel Oregon about what people are looking for if they're considering to travel. And the number one thing that people are starting to look for now, if they're considering traveling, is to find that location they're interested in and see what safety measures are being taken for their safety. So they want to know that wherever they're going, it's going to be safe for them. And I feel like that's the same message we want to put out, that we're doing everything to keep everybody safe, not just keeping our visitors safe, we're keeping our residents safe as well. So I believe all of our businesses are doing their best to do that. There may be some outliers, as there always are in society, but I'm pretty sure if you don't have those safety measures in place as a business, I think once the word gets out that you're not doing anything to take care of people, that will be a detriment to your business. So I'm pretty sure everyone's going to do the best they can to help keep everybody safe and healthy.
Great. Thanks, Jim.
Okay then. Any further comments, discussion?
Because they all are permitted through the city, I think it would be great if we could put together something as a suggestion for everyone who has a short-term rental license, so that they are all equally notified and later won't say they didn't know about this.
You put excuse me, this being the Orla and Hotel Association
Yes.
guidelines.
Right, the American Hotel Guidelines.
Perfect.
Robert, we can, when people are notified that we've made this move, we can make that an attachment to whatever announcement it is.
That'd be great.
Okay, with that, we have a cheat sheet for this one. So,
Sounds like.
We're ready for a motion, Sam, is that what you're saying? I move to approve the first reading of ordinance number 20-16.
I'll second it.
seconded. Ordinance 20-16 for the purpose of amending the municipal code by creating a temporary exemption to the 14-day permit required for short-term rentals. Amendments?
Discussion.
Discussion?
I'm encouraged by the fact that the rental companies are concerned about the health and safety, welfare of the citizens, and are doing cleaning, which I think they should continue to do on all the rental properties. But let's not lose sight of the fact that the current short-term rental ordinance limiting tenancy to once every 14 days was enacted to reduce the negative impacts from the commercial vacation rentals operating in residential neighborhoods. Now, here we are in a time of rising COVID-19 cases, voting on an ordinance that encourages the doubling of the number and frequency of visitors infiltrating our residential community. The city is not responsible for protecting the rental income for these fortunate enough to have multiple homes. Rather, it's our responsibility to try to protect the health and welfare of our residents.
Anybody else? Colleen?
Counselor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy,
Yes.
Council President Benefield,
No.
Counselor Risley,
Yes.
Mayor Stidle.
Yes. Okay. Now we can move to the second reading. Oh, no, we don't. This was unanimous. So we have to wait for next meeting.
Mayor, if I can, I sent you all something, a list of things that I wanted to talk about with the,
Go to the order.
good of the order, thank you. And one of those is to request a meeting next week.
Okay.
That's to go over the TAC and TAF the materials. I'm sorry, maybe it's a week, 2 weeks?
23rd, yes.
23rd, okay. But within a couple of weeks, we will be having the meeting,
Okay, well, we'll bring that up when we, bring this up when we talk about that.
okay?
So, with that, we just move on. Don't need that one. Going to the resolutions. This resolution is for adopting the budget. Lori, do you want to come explain what we're doing now?
Here we are again, a year later, adopting another budget for the city. You guys are all very well versed in this procedure, I know. Getting to our budget was a little bit different this year than in prior years, but we did it, so.
It was so much fun, you did it twice.
Yes.
Yes.
We did it twice. So tonight before you, you have the approved budget, approved by the budget committee. And we met 2 times in May. And so, now we are referring the approved budget to council for adoption. In my staff report, you will see that you do indeed have the ability to change the budget in some form at this meeting if you so choose. And, I guess our, fiscal impact, so you also know that you have to have an adopted budget in place by July 1st in order to continue operating. The fiscal impact is, we have total appropriations in this budget of $20,064,222. That is a decrease of 16.3% over the prior year budget. So we were trying to be careful, obviously, for the next year ahead in this budget. So, our recommendation is that you move to make a motion.
Questions for Lori? Motion.
I move to approve resolution number 20-22 for the purpose of adopting the 2020-2021 budget as approved, submitted, and acted upon by the Budget Committee of the City of Cannon Beach, making appropriations and levying taxes for municipal purposes of the City of Cannon Beach for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2020 and ending June 30th, 2021.
Seconded.
Seconded. Any other discussion? Colleen?
Council President Benefield,
Yes.
Councilor Risley,
Yes.
Councilor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy,
Yes.
Mayor Stidle.
Yes. And that will be my 10th budget.
Wow, congratulations.
Okay, the next one, any public comment on?
It's a public hearing and I gave you a script.
Yeah, so I have a script. At this time, pursuant to ORS 221-770, I will open the public hearing in order to give citizens of Cannon Beach the opportunity to comment on the use of state revenue sharing funds in the city of Cannon Beach's budget for the fiscal year 2020 to 2021. I guess if there's anybody desperate, we can unmute you. Anybody in the audience? This is specific to the state revenue sharing aspect of our budget, correct?
Sam, it's probably appropriate that you ask staff to present their report.
Staff, please present your report. It says right here. So, staff, present.
Okay, this is, pretty much just a housekeeping measure. The state of Oregon requires that we deliberate on the revenues that we receive from the state, both in the budget committee and here at the council level. When we were at the budget committee, we reviewed the general fund estimated resources from the state that amounted to $101,775. And the other amount that goes into the road fund is $134,987. So total estimated amounts that we think we'll get from the state are $236,763.
Okay. I'll ask again, is there anybody in the public who wishes to make a public comment? Not seeing any. Last chance. Okay. No further discussion. I will close the public hearing at this time. So, council, do you have any questions or comments you would like to make?
I do not at this time.
Okay, then a motion is in order.
Move to approve resolution number 20-23 for the purpose of declaring the city's election to receive state revenues for fiscal year 2020-2021.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any last chance discussion? Colleen?
Councilor Risley.
Yes.
Councilor Ogilvie.
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy.
Yes.
Council President Benefield.
Yes.
Mayor Sydo.
Yes. Okay. 2023 passes. 2024 is Lori.
Okay. Also, again, in budget committee, we discussed the storm drain fund and, the revenues that were being transferred in from the general fund to support operations. Last year in budget committee, we talked about this, and, we did have a $2 increase in the current fiscal year we're in. We phased this, proposal over 2 years, so this would be the final proposal. We would move the storm drain monthly charge from $7.19 per month to $9.22 per month. The resolution that you have before you is changing only the storm drain rate. All the other rates are remaining the same, what we have currently. So this would support the storm drain so that we wouldn't rely on the general fund transfers.
Questions? I hear a motion.
I lost my place.
Move to adopt resolution 20-24 for the purpose of repealing resolution 19-08.
Second?
Seconded? Any other comments? Colleen?
Councilor Ogilvie.
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy.
Yes.
Council President Benefield.
Yes.
Councilor Risley.
Yes.
Mayor Sydo.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, next item. Consideration approving the memoranda of understanding, oh yeah, for cost of living adjustments for the Police Officers Guild and SEIU local. Bruce, you wanna?
Ashley, would you like to take this one?
Ashley was muted.
She's in.
Am I unmuted now?
There you are. Thank you.
There I am.
Would you like to
Sorry.
handle this one?
Sure. So for this year, we were up for negotiation of the Police Officers Guild Collective Bargaining Agreement, and we had 1 year remaining in our agreement with the SEIU unit. So the City of Cannon Beach has 2 separate bargaining units. Because of the ongoing COVID-19 crisis, both unions voluntarily offered to forego any COLA increases for this year. So I've been bargaining contracts for 8 or 9 years at this point, and this is a first for me that employee unions have approached cities and voluntarily offered, in one case, in the case of SEIU, to open up a contract and agree to take a 0% cost of living increase rather than the cost of living increase that was guaranteed them under the contract, in an effort to assist the city with a ongoing budget issue. So again, this is, I would say in my experience, an unprecedented cooperation from employee unions, seeing that there is a pretty serious budget crisis. And I think it speaks pretty highly to the membership of those unions, their willingness to, work with the city and see the challenges that is before the city, and that their trust in their managers to make the right decision. So what you have before you is a MOU from the Police Officers Guild offering to roll over the contract for an additional year and take a 0% COLA, which means for the police officers, we will bargain hopefully a full 3-year contract next year to be effective in June 2021. And for your SEIU group, your general unit, they are again opening up their contract voluntarily, taking a 0 instead of their promised COLA, and they'll write out the end of their contract and we will bargain with them as well next year. So again, this is unprecedented in my experience and just shows that the city has a lot of support and great employees.
Good. And I believe we need to have 2 separate motions, one for the Guild and one separate one for the SEIU.
That's correct.
Any questions?
I guess, Bruce, do you have anything else to add to that?
No, thank you for your comment. And thanks for your help on working these things through.
In that case, I move to approve the MOU with the Police Officers Guild, authorizing the mayor and city manager to sign.
Second?
Okay. Any comments?
I'd just like to thank all of the police officers, and I'd say it's a significant sacrifice on their part.
But they do.
It's incredible. Thank you.
It is, in this day and time, especially.
Okay, thank you. Colleen?
Councilor McCarthy?
Yes.
Council President Benefield?
Yes.
Councilor Risley?
Yes.
Councilor Ogilvy?
Yes.
Mayor Stidle?
Yes. Motion passes to adopt the Guild agreement.
I move to approve the MOU with the City of Cannon Beach, SEIU Local 921, authorizing the mayor and city manager to sign.
Second?
I just have a question, because the agenda says SEIU Local 503. Is it 9?
503 is the overarching, and 921 is our group.
Okay,
So it was signed by the overarching, but our group is the one who.
okay, yeah, I just didn't know what number should be in there. It's fine. Ashley, do you have an opinion on that? If it's 503, which I guess is, Colleen explained, is the overarching group, and then our local, what number was that, Colleen?
921.
921.
No, Colleen's 100% right. All SCIU in Portland is SCIU Local 503, and then it's more confusing because they call their each individual affiliate also a local. So you have Local 5013, and then below them, Local 921. So Colleen's exactly right.
So which number should we use?
Local 921 is great.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay then, we got a second?
We had 3 seconds.
3 seconds.
I think Brandon.
Do you even have to take a vote then? Yeah.
So, go ahead and call it.
Council President Benefield,
Yes.
Councilor Risley,
Yes.
Councilor Ogilvy,
Yes, and I'd like to thank all of the, Cannon Beach and city employees for their sacrifice as well.
Thanks, Brian.
and Councilor McCarthy,
Yes.
Mayor Stidle.
Yes. Good, thank you.
Yeah.
Next
Mayor, one
one
last-
is,
Mayor, one
Oh,
last
go ahead.
comment. So both of your unions are going to take a 0% COLA this year, and management will as well. So no City of Cannon Beach employee would be receiving a cost of living increase this year.
What?
And no black.
Thought that's the reason they were taking it.
No Blackhawk either, buddy.
And I think the
You've been
savings comes
defunded.
to, if I read this correctly, $150,000 savings for this year, which is roughly the equivalent of either, depending on the employee, 2 or 1 employee's salary for the year. So I think that's significant.
very good, again, okay, thank you. Consideration for approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Cannon Beach Police Department and the City of Cannon Beach Fire Protection District. Chief.
Yes, so what you have before you is something that we haven't done in the past, although we've tried and done it kind of on the outskirts. But we currently have 7 of our officers trained under EMS, which is Emergency Medical Services, and I believe 6 of us are emergency medical responders, and there's a EMT basic or intermediate. I think Joe's an intermediate there as well. And so we get recertified every 2 years on the medical aspect of it, and we've talked about this before, where I just thought it would be important for our staff that's on, and usually the first on scene for some of these cases, to be somewhat trained to be able to help out until other medical resources arrive on scene. So we have done that, and all the current staff is trained for it. We just need to keep the training up, and so the best way to do that is through the fire department with the medical training, and they also have an online service that they use each year. And so we would pay $3,000 to the fire department to cover the online training and them teaching us on Wednesday nights. I guess it's the first Wednesday of the month, and other drills. So they would also help keep track of our records and help with the recertification process, which isn't easy. So I think it's a good thing for us, especially working on building that relationship back up and getting more involved with them.
Great. Questions?
It's a good move.
Okay, need a motion?
Move to approve the intergovernmental agreement between the Cannon Beach Police Department and the Cannon Beach Rural Fire Protection District, authorizing the city manager to sign the agreement.
Second.
Comment?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Councilor Risley,
Yes. Yes.
Councilor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy,
Yes.
Council President Benefield,
Yes.
Mayor Stidle.
Yes. That one's a go. So, next one, consideration of authorizing the city manager to amend the purchase and sale agreement between the City of Cannon Beach and Seaside School District to include a legal description and assignment of a food pantry lease.
I can just touch a little bit on the food pantry lease, but I would like Ashley to cover the other aspects. On the food pantry lease, we were talking about taking over the existing contract that they have with the school board. And I talked to Barb Nutt a while back, and, they had a meeting last week.
Last Wednesday.
Yeah, last Wednesday, and they approved this action. So with your approval, when we do our closing, it'll be seamless for them to go into, we will be absorbing the lease as, previously negotiated. Ashley, would you cover the other points?
Sure. There's not a ton to cover here. So at our June 2nd meeting, the city council approved the city's purchase of the Cannon Beach Elementary, which was one of the conditions of the purchase and sale agreement. And then we just have two other administrative things from my perspective to tie up to move forward to our closing date of July 1st. So in the original purchase and sale agreement that we negotiated with the school district, we didn't have the correct legal description at that time. So we said, as soon as we had that legal description, we would amend the PSA to include it. And so that's one of the things we're doing here. And then the second thing is that in our original PSA, we required the school district to provide the property to us free and clear of any lease agreements, which is a pretty standard procedure when you're buying a commercial or residential property. And clearly we want something different. We want to keep that food pantry lease going. So we are amending that part of the PSA to not make them end the lease with the food pantry. And as Bruce said, we're just going to go ahead and take over that lease. It's going to be assigned to us. I reviewed it. I really don't have any issues with that lease agreement. It gives us the flexibility that we need. If, something comes up in the future and we want to renovate, we can give them notice and have them vacate the property. Obviously, they're a big partner of the city, so we would want to work with them throughout that process. So again, to me, these are two just administrative matters that we need to tie up so we can move full force to closing.
Very good. Any questions for staff? I always enjoy reading descriptions.
Yeah, let me know if you have any
This one has
edits.
No edits, not in that one. Okay then, do we have a motion?
They didn't provide a sample motion, but I approve the consideration of authorizing city manager to amend the purchase and sale agreement between the city of Cannon Beach and the Seaside School District to include the legal descriptions and assignment of the food pantry lease. Does that suffice?
That works.
Second?
Seconded. Last comments? Colleen?
Counselor Ogilvy?
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy?
Yes.
Council President Benefield?
Yes.
Counselor Risby?
Yes.
Mayor Stidle?
Yes. Very good. Last of those, look at that. Next item is a presentation by Lori again.
You sure see her.
The only one around
I agree.
Okay, you have before you, finance report for the city, third quarter, January to March 2020. And, telling Mike earlier, this is kind of like a normal report with the exception of a couple weeks in here. So this happened under pretty much normal operating conditions. So that's pretty much what you're going to see here. On the first page, of course, we have our cash position. We had cash on hand as of March 31, $7,527,000. That's comparative to the same time, March 31, 2019, which is $5,957,056. So it's a fairly good increase of about $1.5 million. I don't know if I talked about this, but our population of the city is now $1,730, according to the PSU data put out.
What was that number, Lori?
$730.
People.
Oh.
People, not dollars.
You can see dollars.
Population.
Population, yeah.
Okay. So general fund, I'll talk a little bit about, on page 2. Top, transient room tax, 328. I really addressed that in my last report to you, because I kind of jumped ahead. I had data available to me that didn't go through December, so I provided that to you. We did talk about that. Had transferred in from the RV park, that's line 26, comparative to the prior year. So revenues overall are pretty much in line with the same time in the last year, 2019, and they're at 66%. Expenditures in the general fund on page 3, you can see that everything by department is within the range of a target budget of 75%. We're doing well there. Total expenditures at the bottom on line 22 is at 58%. So that's a favorable position and point because we are ahead to a more tumultuous quarter. That's good. Our ending fund balance decreased by roughly $5,000 from July 1. So we're at a balance on line 26 of $1,663,709. Page 4, you can see that when I look at this, I look mostly at are the program expenses within the expenditure, the target of 75%, something over, then I will investigate that. Sometimes there's a very good reason for that. So on this page, these funds all look within reason. If you look at the county CRT fund in the middle there on line 13, you can see we made a down payment of $50,000 on the school. That is. Noteworthy here. And move on to page 5. Finally, we do the enterprise fund. I look at the program expenses. I also look at the revenues to make sure they're coming in as planned. Fund balances look good. The other thing that I look at, and like I said, this all looks pretty normal. Our debt service fund, that's in the bottom right corner. You'll see we have any fund balance there on 129 under year-to-date of $551,465. That just means we have enough money to pay our last debt payment, which we paid June 1st, $547,513. So we're in good shape there. Page 6, these are our internal service funds, and revenues are at 69%, and that's what the expenses are as well, because in this fund, our revenues are always equaling our expenditures, because we're charging out those items to other funds. Page 7, now we have transient room tax, and this is where I did jump ahead again, so this is data through April 30, instead of ending on March 31st, because I have that data available. You can see our third quarter, on line 2, under quarter 3, $520,682 is what we received for the third quarter. So minus 2 weeks, that was I guess a normal time for us. It did not hit the budget number that we had, $662,000. So I don't know if those 2 weeks of spring break really had, maybe it had a big impact. I don't know. It's hard to say. We collected 83% of the prior year amount, which you see on line 3 under quarter 3. We collected $627,000 in the quarter 3 the prior year. So what's happening there? renters defer their room tax payments to July 15th. So when you look at the revenues that I say I say collected, because that's usually what we do. We usually collect things, but not in this case. So this number, that 520,000 that we were looking at, not all of that was cash. So we have a receivable for the remaining, we have a receivable for citywide, $330,800 that did not get paid, and we did not get cash. So we're waiting to receive that money, and we'll get that July 15th. That was the bargain, and hopefully everyone pays. Otherwise, those penalties and interest will kick in. So I'm hopeful that everyone will pay.
Lori, just a question. So when you're saying that we collected around $200,000 in cash, there's 300 and something as a receivable, the two of those combined come to the 520?
Yes.
Okay, thank
So
you.
that's more of an estimate than it is
Those are actual numbers.
they're actuals, but it's not all there.
No, 330,000 is
Deferred.
to be collected. And so, and of course, the people that didn't take advantage of the deferral program that quarter are now eligible for this quarter that we're in now. So then those payments could, in theory, be delayed until October 15th. And so we only have 19 people defer. And so that leaves like 243 lodging operators out there that could do that in that quarter. So I don't know what's going to happen. But, mostly it was the hotels. We had 15 hotels defer and only 4 short-term rental properties defer. So, and I don't know. On page 8, you can see we break down the data for you by hotel and short-term rentals. I think it's for that. Unless you have questions, you can down your own. Page 9 shows the 5 funds. We look down at line 11 under quarter 3. There's that number again, 520,000. And up above, you can see what the impacts are on the general fund, tax fund, and PRT fund. So that's how that's broken out. And we were down $211,360 per the budget. So that's much less than we forecast when we were budgeting. And I think page 10 is just a summary of the Tourism and Arts Fund. Nothing really of notes there. And I think that's my report. If you have questions.
No questions? Very good. Thanks, Lori.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And that ends the bulk of the meeting. We'll go straight to good of the order, and I believe Bruce has a list of items.
I do, and these are things that are coming up quickly, and so, tried to give you a heads up on it. I put something in front of you. First thing has to do with tents. When we allowed people for the restaurants to open up into their parking lots, there was discussion about, whether they would be covered, and one of the comments was, well, we can let them use umbrellas, but not necessarily the canopies. And what we're seeing is that most furniture is not newly purchased and doesn't have a hole for an umbrella. And so that's not going to be as practical as what we would hope it would have been. And in analyzing the situation, part of what we were trying to do was to give them, I don't know, a leg up, or whatever you want to call it, to be able to go ahead and do some business outside. And so what the recommendation is that, if you folks will agree with it, is to allow the use of canopies for, and to cover up. And personally, I think in a couple of cases, it will actually improve the aesthetics, because it's kind of ad hoc when you look at some of the cases. But we also think it could help with social distancing if you're setting those up and parties are underneath it. It's just a consideration. If we already have your direction to not allow the tents, Are they, but if you, recommending that you consider that, so it's up to you.
My concern is that we were opening it up outside because there would be better airflow. It doesn't appear that if you were to canopy it, that would accomplish that. And so I'm not in favor of putting canopies up.
Well, these would be canopies like we have at the farmer's market, right?
They are open four
That
sides.
are open on all
Four sides.
four sides, so there would be airflow underneath.
Okay, but what about the driftwood where they have it all blocked in already? So are they putting a canopy over the whole top?
Now, that was one of my questions is how many tables would there be under one canopy? Wouldn't it be like one
Oh, no,
canopy,
no, I
two
would-
tables?
Based on the size and the distancing requirements, I would think that it would be one table under a canopy. I don't think you could get, yeah, I don't think, I really haven't given it much, that part of it thought, but seeing how big they are when they're out here at the farmer's market,
You could get at least two tables,
but
6 feet apart.
No, they're 10
They're
by
only
10.
10 by 10.
yeah, 10 by 10, yeah, you would have,
Pretty hard.
yeah, that would,
Yeah, because when you get up, move your chairs out and,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to be bigger than 10 by 10 down there because,
Well, we use 2.
I know, but at the information booth, we have those 2 long tables and then we have plenty of room in the back.
There's 2 tents there.
Oh, is there 2 tents?
it's
That's-
10 by
okay,
20.
That's why we have the, okay.
That's why
That's why
it drips in the
That's
middle.
why the rain comes right in the middle.
Okay,
Yeah.
I never thought about that, okay, never mind.
And that's what I'm saying, that potentially you could have a better control on the distancing because the tent, or not the tent, the canopy is more permanent than what the tables or whatever.
I think as long as you prohibit signs.
And again, this would only be during the time that we are allowing them to be outside.
Yeah, I think we have to make that clear. Don't want to be starting a precedent, really.
Agreed.
Just to be clear for myself, we're not talking about a large, wedding canopy
No.
that would cover the whole parking lot.
10 by 10 canopies is what we would contemplate.
Okay, I'm perfectly okay with that.
And my guess, Robin, is that there would be space between them so that there would be a little bit more circulation.
okay, so they're open on all sides.
Yes, yes. And also, again, in order to maintain that spacing, I can't imagine we would be able to cram them together. I think there's gonna have to be a space.
Yeah.
And there's going to have to be something to really hold them down.
Sure.
too.
Yeah.
It can get pretty windy and,
Yeah.
Be fun today.
yeah.
Okay, so sounds like a go. I don't hear anything dramatically.
Okay on that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, if they're open air,
Yes.
and if it's temporary, and we're not setting a precedent for the future,
Yeah, just for the duration
Yeah.
of this.
Yes.
which is when.
Well, I think that that's something that you all will need to make a decision as we go along. If it was open-ended, not to go ahead and make it last a long time. It was until things could get more normal. And so you folks will say, all right, this is our cutoff.
Things aren't gonna get more normal, Rick, till, school starts, is that what I heard?
In phase 2 for 6 to 10 weeks.
Oh, at least, because I think the governor, when she made that announcement, said several months.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little while.
Yeah.
We'll be monitoring it, but this will be probably until school starts for the year after. At least,
But, you all aren't committed to that. You can make a cutoff tomorrow if you want, because this is just something that we're doing, and we didn't tie it to anything the governor said. So it's really in your control. Okay, all right,
Bruce,
thank you.
this is-
The next, yes,
So,
Ashley?
right then, you were talking about the local emergency order, correct?
yes. No. The decision, actually, this is gonna surprise everybody, I'm not sure what I'm talking about. Shock. Because the decision that was made, we have the extension of the emergency order, and part of the decision-making was under the emergency order, the authority given to the city manager. but it was really based on direction from you folks. And we didn't tie it to the end of our emergency order. So,
I think your authority to make that decision was tied
yes, yeah.
to the order, so I don't see how
Yeah.
you go beyond that.
So yes, yes, so your enhanced authority is tied to the declaration of emergency by the city council, which at this point is open-ended. And just a 2 cents, what I'm talking to my clients about regarding this issue is that, yes, it seems like we are entering through the phases at this point, but my recommendation is still to keep that in place, just so you have the flexibility to move quickly if anything comes up again in the future. I think there's some real questions about, a second wave coming through. So clearly, as you're right, it's up to the council, but I just thought I would let you know that a lot of cities are considering this exact issue right now. And I think there's a lot of reasons just to keep it in place until, we are back to normal.
Could we say that we would relook at it in October? Just because the weather will be changing at the end of October, and I think it's not gonna be very pleasant to be out there much after that.
Oh,
I think we
I think we should look at it many
don't have to
times
say in
before
October.
October. Yeah.
You can do it
Okay.
anytime.
Okay, just keep looking at it.
Okay. All right. Everybody's aware that the whole TAF thing, rules changed in the middle of March. And so, Colleen and Lori did a great job trying to figure out who has how much money and how much do we owe and how much do people owe us. And so we met with, the chair and the vice chair of, TAC committee, and we kind of think we have a plan. And, I'll kind of, spoiler alert here, the good news is we anticipate when we get the money, from, the July 15th, that we should be pretty close to zero, which means everybody that we owed money for Q3 and Q4 for this year will have their money. So we're working towards that, and we'll get there pretty quickly. The difficulty is going to be that we don't see any more money for another 3 months, at least another 3 months, and it'll be one of our lowest quarters. So some of the decisions that everybody has to, be taking a look at is, okay, fine, we've taken care of 1920, but we don't have any money, and our schedule right now says people have to apply by July 1st, so that probably doesn't make sense. But there's going to be an accumulation in January, and then again in April, and we think right now Lori's projected $292,000 for a 70% of 1%. So theoretically, that's how much we'll have July 1st. So we have to think about how much can we possibly do? When will we have those funds so we can start releasing it? And then backing off of that, it's like, okay, now what's our schedule? When do we ask people to apply? That kind of thing. So the TAC is going to meet on the 9th to try to go over this. And what we would like to do is have a meeting relatively shortly after that, maybe the 23rd. And the reason for that will be to say, okay, this is going to be our policy. This is how we're going to handle it. And make those decisions so that we can, two things. One, we can tell people, and we've been telling people, we'll make you whole for this year. But then what's it going to be like next year? And I think it's going to be leaner. And also, I don't think that we can say that we'll be able to make any payments in October. Or else they will be very, I don't know, maybe we will, but they'll be very small maybe. So anyway, we need a plan. So that's what that item is about. So are you folks okay meeting, like the 23rd or sometime around then?
23rd, fine, what time?
To you. Brandon, 5:30?
5:30? Brandon?
I believe I've got something. At what time?
It's up to y'all, but 5:30 would probably be our normal.
5:30 is fine with me. Sorry that
Okay.
took so long.
Everybody else okay? All right, and we'll advertise that as a joint meeting because we want the TAC committee to be able to speak also. Okay?
And what kind of policy decisions are we supposed to be considering?
Well, right now, we have a schedule that says this is it, and this is when you start getting payments, that kind of thing. We're going into a year that's, you know, unlike what others have been, in that for us to go ahead and pay people for, 3 and 4, it's gonna take all, you know, all of our money.
Right.
And so there is no more on the other side of that. And so we have to decide, well, if the number is 292,000, do we say we'll do 292? Do we say we do 150? And then if you're gonna say 150, then we have to look at the collections. And when would we hit the point that we could actually pay 150? And do we start interim payments in the middle?
This is interim payments for the next
Yes, next fiscal year.
fiscal year.
Yes. Well, normally, we would try to have some payments to them like in October.
Right.
So it's just trying to go ahead and sort that out. You know, there are a lot of the organizations that rely heavily on these funds. And, I don't know if we have, there's gonna be there's a lot of decisions. Okay? So anyway, that's, and so we agreed to the 23rd at 5:30?
Yep.
Okay, good. And we'll be, right now, working on the staff report that'll go to TAC, and I will get that to you same time we send it to them. So you'll have a little bit of time to read it in advance. Okay. Next one hopefully is a fun one. I've been having conversations with Paul Duber about trying to do something, fun. And in creating that, we, you know, potentially have an opportunity with working with him and working with local musicians to kind of do an informal, music opportunity in the bandstand, the band show. And, the idea is that it would be locals and, local musicians and kind of the ones that you see him bringing in. And they are so excited that they have a chance to do something. The way it's set up is that it would not cost the city anything. The people that would be playing, you know, essentially busker style, they would be able to go ahead and, you know, do collections or whatever. We would have people out in the audience, and, me or somebody else will go around and make sure everybody's socially distant. I don't see this kind of a number, but right now we could actually have 250 in that space. But, we're not limited to the 10 or the 25 or whatever. For something like that, open air, we have that much room, and so we'll just make sure that everybody's social distances. So, the catch on this is that, Paul is not really an organization. I mean, he's organized, but he's not an organization. And so there's nobody really to go to make sure for the insurance requirements and those kind of things. And because it's kind of a ongoing through the summer, my recommendation, if you folks are amenable, is that the city actually be the one that fills out the permit. And as a result of us doing it, nobody has to pay for the insurance because we've already got that level of insurance for ourselves. So that's the concept, and I think it'll be fun because, you know, Paul and the musicians are talking about, well, maybe we do a jam, next one open mic, you know, those kind of things. So I think it'll be different every time, and it's not intended to, you know, be put out on the chamber website, hey, come in every Tuesday, whatever day. I've asked them not to make it Tuesday because we would miss, you know, at least half the concerts because we're always here. But we don't really want them to say, you know, hey, we have outdoor concerts on these days. It's really try to go ahead and keep it for the locals. And I'm sure that, Jim, you folks will cooperate on that. And I think that we still have the opportunity for the other folks to have the larger concerts. Yeah,
He did a good job, Wade.
Yeah, you can't help it, whatever.
yeah. But anyway, but that's the idea. And so if you folks are okay, really, I think that the, are you okay with the concept?
Well, I have a question. Paul suggested this when the library was open. He came and talked to me about doing this at the library, and he said then that the musicians would be paid, so they would have to charge people coming into the library.
Mm-hmm.
But this is, musicians aren't being paid?
They would be able to, you know, put out a job case or something like that, but they will not be paid by the city. If somebody wants to sponsor it, that we would welcome that, but we'll have no costs. We aren't paying them. This is a chance to play, hopefully do some collections, and would love to see some sponsors.
And that means that the public coming to see them wouldn't be charged.
It would not be charged.
And this would be evening?
Yes. And, Paul's idea on it is it's a, after work, before you go home, sit down, glass of wine, listen to some music, go home at 7. So that's the idea. And, we'd be looking at, and it depends on musicians and everything else, but, possibly every week or maybe every other week. But the idea is to get our locals that have been kind of sequestered for a long time. We really don't have kind of a bigger venue that for something like this, so that now you can get within shouting distance of your friends. So we see that there's a lot of pluses to it, and I think that getting out could be exciting for a lot of folks.
I would hope that they could be really flexible and work with the weather. Instead of trying to plan for a Tuesday or Wednesday, and just say, it's a nice evening, let's go have music.
Right, or, but we'll set it for a time that you can count on, and if it doesn't work out, we're just canceling that night, no loss.
That's, as far as I'm concerned, that's why we put power over there and.
Yeah. No, it really is, kind of, yeah, and then it's like, it's something the city is, and obviously Paul is, but Paul is the total organizer on it, and we're helping a lot of people, so it's kind of, I thought it was kind of a cool idea, so. We're good with the concept, we're good with the city applying?
Yep.
Thank you. Thanks. The next one is the Cannon Beach Elementary Gym analysis. You don't have to answer this tonight, but we're getting close to, closing, maybe 3 weeks or something. And the building, I'm not sure what shape the building is in. We have documents from, some of the appraisals that the school board said it's ready to fall down. I don't think it's ready to fall down, but I don't know what kind of condition it's in. What I'd like to do is to get some kind of an analysis to find out, because we don't know what we're going to do with it. Okay, what's it going to cost to have the bones in there? And by the bones, it means that we have somebody that has checked the structure, thoroughly checked it, and found out, what's good, what's got to be replaced. So we have the structure. We may have to do some work for earthquake or the seismic stuff. And so what we found out is that in some cases, in Quonset huts, they've put cables across to kind of stop, this action. And I think we need to do that too, because the corners are all showing thrust damage at the corners where all the weight comes down into the foundation. There's the floors are presumed to be asbestos, so it's like 6,000 square feet in the gym, other parts of the area. But just to find out, so it's like, I don't know what the number is, but we might want to make it, into a conference center or whatever, event center. But what's it going to cost to make sure the structure is good, it doesn't leak, we have plumbing, we have sewer, the power is adequately sized so that we can connect it to whatever we want to connect, but to know what that first cost is going to be. So that's what we're looking at and recommending. The cost for the gym, we have a price from an engineer, and we're working with O'Brien Construction, and they've told us it'll be under $10,000 for the gym. And I was kind of surprised. I had never been through the classrooms, and I expected terrible, and it wasn't terrible. And so something you might want to think about is whether we want to do similar assessment for those rooms, because there's 4 rooms, just under 1,000 square feet. Yes, there's some leakage, but it's not, the floors aren't wet, that kind of thing. So that may be something that we want to consider if it's a matter of a roof, and definitely the windows are all rotted out. So we would have to replace all the windows, and we'll have to replace the one window that somebody threw Oregon Duck football through. But we have the evidence inside.
The Beaver fans don't do that.
No, we're
Yeah, but anyway, we have the evidence in the room still. So, it would be around, 20,000. if we were to do both, 10,000 to do the gym, I would say probably do the gym first, and maybe we can set up a tour, of the other rooms, just to take a look at it, and then say, well, let's go ahead and take a look at those too. But, I was pleasantly surprised on the condition. They're not great, but I mean, it's like, there's 1,000 square foot rooms in there that could be a lot of different things. So, are you okay with us moving forward with trying to go ahead and find out what it'll cost to put the bones into the gym? Okay?
We have no choice.
Well, we have a timing choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, I think that there are some things that we might be able to do short-term, to protect facilities. I mean, there's leaves blowing in under doors. You know, the birds didn't get in, but kind of hear them, but we didn't see them. Yeah. And then, after that, we will talk about what all the other issues are. So, if you're okay with that, we will move forward on the gym. Is there any interest, in either, if you want to call me, we'll just do a walkthrough if anybody has an interest, and maybe we can talk about the classrooms later.
Yeah, I think I'm interested in taking, not necessarily me personally, I've been there, but looking to see what the classroom problems might be that we need to improve on.
You know, one advantage of trying to save those is that if we turn them down, we may be restricted from ever building anything else.
Right.
So we need to preserve that footprint.
And also, I mean, I think this room is more than 1,000 square feet, but they were big spaces, and so it's not just, you know, like an office or something.
They should be 30 or somewhere around in there. I remember measuring them once, and
Yeah, I measured them too, and then the guy from O'Brien had somebody put it on that wall and checked that wall. But, it was around 950 square feet, and I think it was like 27 by 33 or something, but whatever it is, it was close to 1,000.
yeah.
So would O'Brien be walking us through and pointing out the things they've found?
Yeah, so what'll happen is the engineer will be doing, you know, all of the aspects of, ADA, power, and, you know, what it would cost to do the plumbing. The gym has 2 5-by-5 bathrooms. That's it. You know, so I mean, sure, we're gonna have to, increase on that. And, we would want them to take a look. When you look at the space that's on the north side, there's some offices and things like that. When we looked at it, that's something that we may want to reconfigure, because the first floor has different levels. You know, so to get it level, and then you have to change the door heights for, you know, however you do that. And then the upstairs space really wasn't terribly useful, so I think there's a real opportunity there to make that a nice touch. And I was impressed with the building. I mean, I like the inside of that gym. It's got a good feel to it.
One of the really positive points about looking at the classroom section, is the restrooms are there. There's a full set of restrooms there.
Yeah.
They could be expanded upon tremendously
Sure.
to cover the entire, so the interior of the gym wouldn't have to be overly, changed.
Yeah, and that'll depend on however the code comes out and all that, but, yeah, the idea of using them together, would it, you know, and again, just spitballing here, but the downside to it is that it limits the amount of space we would have for park-like settings, that kind of stuff. But again, you know, 4,000 square feet, good shape, a lot of people could use.
Okay.
So, okay, all right, so we do both?
I think.
Okay, we'll do both. Okay, thank you.
That's the end of Bruce's list. Anybody else have a list?
I have a question for you, Jason. When you and your officers run into situations involving mental health, problems, where do you go to get help for that?
Like a referral type thing?
Yeah, I mean, or, you know, say you have, I don't know, some kind of a situation where you know that there's the mental health of the person that you're involved with is a problem. Where do you go? Who do you call?
Classic Behavioral Health Care, which is in Astoria,
And then who pays for that?
tax money.
Okay, do we have anything in the budget for that kind of
We don't get billed for it.
expenditure?
You know, it's a county service,
Okay, so,
so it works with the county, but Yeah, I mean, depending on what it is, we would do a referral to them, whether it's suicide or a disorder that they have going on, where they're a danger to themselves or others. We'll originally take them to the hospital so that they're evaluated. A healthcare worker won't come out from Clatsop Behavioral until they've proven that they don't have alcohol or drugs in their system, because at that point, it doesn't behoove them to try to do any counseling and get them on board until they're sober. So most of the officers, I think they teach at the academy now, but I'm not sure, but I know most of our officers are trained on the different mental health incident training, and we have, I think, 8 hours required every 2 years that we have to obtain as well. So, but Clatsop Behavioral is the one that we go through most of the time, and that's where the struggle lies for funding and that type of thing, because they can only do so much as well.
So they receive money from the county, which is basically our tax money? Okay, but we aren't, as a city, required to pay anything?
Not that I'm aware of. Yeah, I haven't seen anything. Hopefully it's not adding up.
Okay, thank
Does
you.
the training the officers get help them identify there's a mental health issue as well as how to deal with it?
Yeah, and there's such a myriad of different things to be dealing with, you know, even with juveniles or young children, things that they're dealing with, even Asperger's and autism, different ways to address them and deal with them. And so it changes, and then there's new things that are influenced by drugs, and so they're constantly learning, you know, these people that had been using meth back in the day, now they're going through a meth psychosis, and they haven't used it in years, but having to train and visualize that and see what's causing that.
I have one other question. Do we have a use of force policy?
We do.
And what does that say? Do you know?
It's used to be a continuum, where it was, if the suspect's doing this, we do this, you know, and it was one level above where they were so that we could get them under control. At this point, it's really enough force to gain compliance and get them under control. And I can certainly send something out to you guys with that information. I know that Astoria did it last week at their council meeting, just kind of gave a heads up on what that policy entailed and the training that it entails as well, so you guys know where we stand on
I'd
that.
kind of like to see that.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
So Jason, you didn't get a fingerprint on the,
So,
No.
We didn't touch it.
Jason, I didn't want to say this on.
We didn't touch it.